Hello, this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is episode 93 of the Sophie Art Podcast, which is a little podcast that I do about the art and things. And this one is going to be about video games. It's about the Tings, but it is kind of related to art, because it's all about trying to bring things together for balance. But I'm actually re-recording this intro because this episode, I recorded it last week, straight after the last episode, and it's an episode that is crazy. It's a bit all over the place really, but I almost deleted it. I almost didn't put this one out, but I thought what I'll do is I'll put it out, but just say that it is a bit weird, because what's happening is I'm trying to process an addiction to video games, but I've realised it's not an addiction to video games, it's an addiction to buying video games. So since recording this episode, it's been a week, and I have not played any video games since Saturday, which is exactly the same as before Christmas. So I do know, like deep in my soul, I do know that I've got over my addiction to video games, but I don't know if I've replaced it or whether I never had. No, I did have. I'm still confused about it all. But basically, I've at the moment I am addicted to buying video games, and so I talk about that on this episode, and that's basically it really. I did want to say I have Johnny on YouTube recommended that I buy an art book. I can't remember who it's by, Kirby something, and what it is it's a book it's like a colouring in book, but full of really amazing stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a click look video of this in a couple of weeks time, and once I've finished doing the click look, I'm going to sit down and just colour one of the pages in on the video, which I think would be quite fun. And what Johnny recommended was, whilst I'm colouring in, just like talking, so sort of colouring and talking at the same time. I think it'd be quite fun, because colouring in is quite relaxing, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I can't tell you what the name is because I'm currently wearing the PlayStation VR headset, because I kind of talk about it in the episode, but PlayStation VR or any sort of VR, it just, to me, it mimics dreaming. And when you start realising how realistic the virtual reality feels, it really does make me wonder, and it makes me understand that it would be possible to be in a reality right now that you didn't realise wasn't real. It was real, but it's not. It's like when you go into a virtual reality, it is real, but it's not real. It's kind of weird. But also, if you can see my desk, because I do these podcasts on video at youtube.com/Sophie Lawson, and on my desk is all my study notes, because this week, as it's after Christmas, I've got back into my studying, which is amazing. So I'm quite excited, because I think video games are, for me, video games are my sort of thing that allows me to have fun. So all through this week I've been studying, but I've been looking forward to Saturday as well, and it hasn't been distracting me. It's not as if I'm sitting here studying thinking about Saturday. It's just I'm studying, and it motivates me to study, because I know on Saturday I can just sit down and play some video games. So I'm quite excited about all this. I've got to get over this addiction to buying video games, and you'll see on this episode that it's quite a confusing thing. But since the last episode, I went, I think, 6 days without buying anything, and I didn't even look at any websites or anything about buying. Like, I didn't even look at any video games or anything. Yesterday, I went into town, and a little thought came into my head of just have a look to see what they've got in the shop, and I allowed that thought in. I then looked, and the next thing I knew, I'd bought 4 new video games. And that's how crazy it is. It's a tiny little thought. If you let it slip in, the next thing you know, you're buying video games. And it's a really hard thing, this. It's probably, I would say, it's the hardest thing I've had to face at the moment. Like, even video games, I thought, having been addicted to video games for 25 years, I think it was, I would have thought that would have been really hard. But it's surprisingly easy to discipline myself to not play video games. But I don't know what it is about buying them. It's just it's proving to be a lot harder. And I have been thinking about this a lot more. And I wonder whether what's going on is there's like a thrill in searching for things to buy. So like the 4 video games I bought, they were only 50p, £1.50. They were like 50p each. They're not that expensive. So it's not like I'm throwing loads of money away. It's just I want to try to stop it, really, because you're only spending 50p here, but if you spend 50p here and 50p here, before you know it, you're spending like £10 or something. So it does add up in the end. And also, it's a lot of time spent looking. So it's time and money, which is the reason I want to try to get on top of it. But what I was thinking was, as I'm looking on this website with all these cheap games, and it tells you if it's in stock in your shop in town, you're scrolling through the list, and when you see something that is really cheap, it's quite exciting. It's like, it feels almost like a treasure hunt. It's like you're going looking for treasures. So when you see something, it's like you've discovered a gem. And then what happens is, you've now seen that gem, which is a 50p game. You can't stop thinking about it. Well, you must be able to. It's just, it feels at the moment like I can't. And what will happen is, I'll keep thinking about it until I buy it. Once I bought it, 9 times out of 10, I won't even play the game. There's something going on here of like a little, it feels like like I said, like a little treasure hunt. And it reminds me a bit of like when you're scrolling through social media. I don't know if I said that in the episode, but you're scrolling through like Instagram or something, lots of images that you're not too bothered about. All of a sudden you'll see one that really is amazing, and that is like a thrill there. And I think some people call it, what's it called? And there is something to that. It's a drug. I think there's a drug that gets released, like an endorphin. I don't know what it's called. There's some sort of drug that gets released when you get that thrill of excitement, and I think you're addicted to that. So I think that's what's going on with buying these video games. I'm looking at the games, I'm seeing something that I know is a bargain, and I'm getting like a thrill because I've got to get it. And then when you do buy it, there is a thrill in buying it as well. So the thing is, like I said on this episode, I've got no idea really how to suppress that. I don't even know what I should be doing, whether I should be suppressing it or not. And so anyway, that's really what this episode's all about. It's all about addiction to buying video games, and I think I'm going to do one of these episodes every sort of month maybe, because I'm right in the middle of this, and I did learn a lot by talking about it last week. So even though this episode that is coming up is a bit all over the place, a bit like this intro really, I learnt a lot from it, so that's why I'm going to keep talking about it, because it's these episodes where I just talk like that, they're almost like therapy sessions in a way. It's like I'm almost talking to myself to try to work it out. So I'm going to keep doing these, and hopefully over the next few months I can sort of work out what's going on. So I'm proud of myself for the last week, because I was able to not look at anything. I was able to stop myself looking at like the websites where you can buy cheap games. So that proves that I can do it. It's that one little thought that come in. it was a sneaky one as well, because what it did was, I had just completed a game on Saturday called Tomb Raider, so you can trade that in for £8 in this shop. So my thought, it said, just have a look at the site to see what you're going to be able to trade that game in for. But I'm not going to trade that game in until probably 2 weeks' time, because this Saturday I'm going to play that game a little bit more to try and get some more trophies. So I shouldn't even have looked, because I'm not ready to trade it in yet. So I can see that it was a very sneaky thought that crept in. And by the time I realised what I was doing, which was scrolling through the list, I was already kind of addicted to having a look. So, like I said before, it's intercepting that initial little thought. And it's quite hard though, because like I said, it's very sneaky. So you got to really be on top of your game here. That's basically it for this little intro. I hope you enjoy this podcast, and let's get into the episode. So little Dennis is with us today. Took the VR headset off. The thing with that VR headset is, when you put it on, you're really in there, so you almost forget about the outside world. So it's not. I thought to myself, I might do the whole podcast wearing that headset. I think it would have been funny, but I couldn't do it, I don't think, because you're actually inside that world. I might talk about that late in a minute, but this podcast is going to be all about video games and how my little experiment of bringing them back into my life is going. I would say at the moment it's probably not going very well. But, well, it is and it isn't. So that's what I'm going to talk about. But you can find show notes and everything at sophielawson.com, and you can find videos at youtube.com/sophielawson. But little Dennis, I think he's quite impatient. I've noticed this a lot about him. He doesn't like waiting about. Yeah, he likes to get in there, I think. So on my little notes, on my little paper towel, I've got hardly anything written down. I'm just going to talk about how I'm finding it at the moment. And the only thing I've got written down is something about Muji, which I'll talk about in a minute. And I said, have to be honest. So I think if you want to, yeah, you've got to be honest. It'd be quite easy for me to pretend that video games is all going swimmingly, but it's not. But it is as well. It's weird, but it's not. It's more not than it is. And I think when you talk about stuff, it's the best way to process what's going on. So I was addicted to video games since 1985. I played them non-stop for about 25 years, I think it was. Yeah, over 25 years. And I love video games. I will never not love video games. But the problem is, I've got some sort of addiction to the video games. And if you've got an addiction, little heart, if you've got an addiction to video games, or if you've got an addiction to something which you feel like is distracting you from something else that you think is more important, you've got to make a difficult decision about what you should be doing, really. But because you've got an addiction to it, it's not as easy as saying I'm not going to do it anymore, because the addiction, it's got like an energy about it. So it's when you try to stop doing something, yeah, if you've not fully understood why you've got an addiction, I don't think if you don't understand why you've got the addiction, it will always be there, which means it will always come back. That's what I think. And it's quite hard to find the source of addiction sometimes. So what I'm beginning to realise is I'm not addicted to playing video games. I'm addicted to buying video games. And that's the problem I've got at the moment. So this is an experiment, bringing video games back in. And I said, I haven't set a time, but I've sort of created a little fake date in my head, which is the release of the PS5. So I love PlayStation, and when the PS5 comes out, which I think is November 2020, something around then, I've said if I haven't got on top of this addiction to video games, I'm gonna get rid of them. And it's gonna be different now. I can feel that it will be different. So if I haven't been able to, over the next 10, 11 months, get on top of this, then I'm gonna make the decision to chop it out completely. And this will be the final one. I can tell because it feels different. So, but if I can find the balance, it'll be beautiful, because I'll be able to. Video games will just be part of my life, like anything else, like reading a book. That's the thing, because I'm not addicted to reading books. If I read a book, it's alright. It's like complements your life. And I think there is a place where video games can be part of my life. I can feel that, but I can equally feel that if I'm not careful, they could take over again. But I don't think they will. This is what's weird. It's the problem I've got is not playing video games, it's buying video games. And I don't know how to stop that. This is why I've been really struggling at the minute. So one of the things that you learn when you look into like spirituality and stuff is all about mindfulness with meditation. So the thing is, I'm sitting there, I'm spending, over the last couple of weeks, I said, I allowed myself to play video games, because it's Christmas. I said, you got 2 weeks, as long as you do your drawing every day, you do your podcast, and you do your video on YouTube.com, as long as you do that, I will let you play video games, because it's Christmas. But as soon as it's after Monday, which will be Monday the 6th, I said as soon as it's Monday the 6th, you get back into your habits of studying. And I can tell that's going to be quite easy. What's not going to be easy now, well, it can be, but it feels like it's not going to be. What's going to be hard is not buying any more video games, because I love, there's some strange thrill in buying new things, and it's I know it's stupid, because I'll buy a new video game. No sooner have I bought that video game, I don't even play it, I just end up looking at another one that I want to buy. So I could tell I could buy 100 video games, there would still be another one I'd want to buy, which is stupid. It's a waste of money, it's a waste of time. But the thing is, like there is an energy. There is an energy about this. I can feel it pulling me. And what's really weird is everything else, my awareness has been really good. So my awareness of my thoughts and stuff is getting a lot better than it's ever been. So I'm sitting there looking on eBay or something at video games. I spent 20 minutes looking at video games. I don't need these video games, but there's this massive feeling that I need them, even though I know I don't. So I become aware of what's happening, and this is what's upset me a little bit, is like the other day, a couple of times it's happened where the thought has come into my head of, like the positive thought has said, you're currently obsessing over buying video games. You don't need these video games. You can make a choice here. You don't have to do it. So in other words, in that moment, that's the point. I can say, I don't want to do this. I can make the decision. The only way I'm going to stop being addicted to buying video games is to stop myself looking at buying video games. Because if you're not looking at buying video games, you can't buy any video games. It's quite weird. So I talked about this on the previous podcast as well. When you're trying to stop an addiction, you don't stop it at the point where the addiction is. So you don't stop it at the point where you're buying something. You stop it at the point where you're like looking at the thing you want to buy. So, and that's much easier then, because you're not invested in the thing you want to buy. But it needs to go even further. It needs to go before that. It needs to go to the point where there's a thought in my head of look online at something to buy. I need to intercept that, and the thing that's upset me a bit is a couple of times I've been sat on my device with the website, and it's either been loading, or I'm just about to hit open the website, that will trigger the process of me buying a new video game. The thought will come in saying, make a choice, you don't have to do this. In other words, I've got the awareness that I'm about to do something that I don't want to do, and I've heard myself say, just this one time, even though I know it's not. So I have become aware of what I'm doing, and I've still done it, which is quite bad because I've never done that before. This is why I know this addiction is quite a bad one, because all other addictions, even the playing of video games, if I intercept that, I'm able to stop it. The thing with this one is, the buying of video games, for some reason, even if I try to intercept it, the addiction is so powerful that I can't stop it, which I don't know what would go before. I don't know how. This is what I'm saying. This is why I'm a little bit of a struggle at the minute. I don't know how to stop it. And I can tell that if I don't work out how to stop this, I'm going to have to get rid of the video games completely. I really don't want to get rid of them, because I know if I get rid of them again, it'll be the final time. Because what happened was, last time I got rid of them, which was February, I think, 2019. February 2019, I said, I'm going to take a break, and that was it. I wasn't quitting them, I was taking a break so that I could focus on my drawing. And I did that. I said to myself, I'm not going to play video games until the end of 2019, and I'll see what I feel like. And what happened was, as I got closer to that end date, it felt right to bring them back in, and I made sure it was the right thing to do. And I know it is the right thing to do, because I can see two little branching paths here, and both of them are positive. It's just at the moment I'm in a negative place with it. But one path is I quit video games and I completely chop them off, because what will happen is I will say I'm quitting video games, but I will do it knowing I'm never coming back to them, which is different, because last time I quit them knowing I would come back to them. So that's a positive, because it would mean I'd be completely free from them, even though I don't really want to be. That's the problem, I don't want to be. This is why I know I need to find a way to overcome this addiction to buying the video games. So if I can overcome the addiction of buying video games, because the thing is, on the PlayStation you've got this thing called PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, and they're like services where you pay. It's not much, it's about £3 a month, £5 a month. It's like peanuts. So you pay like a little bit of money each month, and you get a bunch of games. You got so many games there, you never have to buy any more games. So when I first started this little experiment, I said to myself, buy yourself a PS4, and you don't need to buy any games, because I've already got hundreds of games that I've gathered over the years digitally. So I don't need any more games. But yet, as soon as I got it, I started thinking, I want that game, I want that game, I want that game. Because what's happened is, because I haven't played games for so long, it's been a few years since I really played games. Every time I come back to them, all of a sudden I think to myself, I can play that one, I can play that one. And so I want to buy them straight away. It's quite weird. I don't know how to work out what's going on here, because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I'm determined to work it out, and something I think to myself is it what's going on is you're buying these video games to try to find happiness, and what's happening is you'll buy that video game, you realise that isn't where the happiness is, so you need another one, and you're never going to find. It's like they say, you'll never find happiness in things. It's all within. So it's quite weird. I know exactly what's going on one level, and I ain't got a clue of what's happening on the other one. So I'm gonna have to just keep thinking about this. But I think the moral of the story is, video games, like everything else, there's nothing wrong with them until there is. So if you become addicted to something, it doesn't matter what it is. I'd even say if you was addicted to drawing, that could become quite unhealthy, because you would end up doing nothing but drawing. You could maybe stop eating, and then you're going to make yourself ill. So, and then if you're addicted to food, you're going to get fat and you explode. There is nothing in the world that isn't negative if you become addicted to it. And equally, that means that everything is positive if you can find the balance. This is the biggest struggle I've ever had. But I just, there's this weird part of me that knows this is the best thing I've ever done. It's really weird. Yeah, there's this intuitiveness inside. It knows that this is the best. I'm going to look back at this moment in years to come as like the key moment. And I just hope I can find the balance. But something that Muji said, so there's this bloke called Muji. He's like a spiritual master. I absolutely love him. And this is what's beautiful. Even though I'm still addicted to these, I've got all this addiction stuff going on, I'm still listening to my Muji, which is powerful. And I don't know how this happens. It always happens. It can't be coincidence. But Muji, he's talking as if he's talking to me. So the other day, what was he talking about? There's this lady, because what happens is on this, I'll put a link in the description and everything to Muji's YouTube channel, but on his videos, he's basically, people are coming up who are struggling with their mind, basically, negative thoughts and stuff, and Muji is just trying to help them separate themselves from their thoughts. So this lady come up and she's talking about how she's struggling with something, and what Muji said is what's weird is I even said this when I first brought these video games back in. I questioned, is this actually a negative thing that's tricking me into doing something which I think is positive, but it's really negative? And what Muji said on his podcast was, he said, he said, when you're in the phase when you're about to like break free from your negative thoughts and stuff, and like some people would say become enlightened and stuff, he says, as you're like evolving and progressing and you're getting really close to breaking free from it, what will happen is, like, the devil will tempt you, but what will happen is it will show up in your life. Something super positive will show up in your life as a super distraction. And Muji, he talks, I don't really understand the Bible and stuff fully, but he talks about in the Bible, Jesus, when he, see, I don't know 100% what I'm talking about here, but Muji says something about when Jesus came face to face with something in the desert. He had to go into the desert for 40 days or something, and he was getting tempted by things, and he basically had to turn down these temptations. And what Muji's saying is it's effectively the story of the devil. Like, because again, it's like you have free will. Which way are you going to go? Are you going to be tempted by these things? Because they're going to come along and it's going to be exactly what you need in that moment. Like if you was in the desert and you had no food and you were dying, like the devil could show up as water or something. It says, come with me and I'll give you water. But you know that if for some reason you got to keep going without water or something, so you're going to be tempted by the thing you really need. But like video games are sort of like that, because I do need video games for like the balance. It's quite weird. But Muji on his video, he said what will happen is, like, you're about to become enlightened, let's say, and your perfect partner will show up out of the blue. Your perfect partner, everything you could dream of in a person will come along and basically will distract you, pull you away. It's fascinating. But when he said that, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I was thinking. Is this what's going on? These video games come along and they're trying to like take me off Because if I became addicted to video games again, yeah, it wouldn't be good, I don't think. There is part of me that wants to do it though. That's scary as well, because there's still a little piece of me that loves the thought of just going to work and doing nothing but playing video games. But like, that's not going to happen. I know that won't happen. But there is a bit that the fact that still exists, it means it could, if you sprinkled it, if you fed it, it could grow. So yeah, I don't think it would. Never say never. But yeah, that's basically it really. I just want to talk about this because it's a big struggle at the minute, and yeah, I'm going around in circles a bit, trying to work out. I need to find the source of buying video games, and I think it is what I said about. I think what's happening is you're buying video games because I'd almost say maybe the ones you've got aren't satisfying you, but that's not true, because I've got so many good video games there that I love playing. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's really weird. Like, I know, I can sit here and say I do not need any more video games, but I know that later on, something might happen. I don't know what will happen. Something will happen, and I'll think, I wouldn't mind getting that. And it's really hard to say no. It's really hard. So, I don't know how to stop that. I'll have to meditate on it or something. Yeah, it's fascinating though, and what I love about it is it goes into this week's inspirational quote. This whole thing is an experiment. So the good thing is there's this, yeah, it's like I said, there's going to be two paths here. There's a specific moment in time when I have to make a decision, and at the moment I'm in the journey between now and then, and there's two paths, like I said, balance or getting rid of them. Yeah, if I get rid of them all, I'm not going to get rid of them all. Might have to though. Ooh, I don't know. We'll have to see, won't we, Dennis? We will have to see. But like I said, the problem is not with the video games, because I can quite easily limit myself. It's a lot easier than I thought to limit myself. So before Christmas, every Saturday was video game day. Every other day I never played them. Well, yeah, there was a couple of times I thought, I'd like to play them, but I had the discipline to not play them. So that's positive. But the negative is, what I was doing was, I was studying, doing my drawings and stuff, doing Muji, but then what I'm still addicted to is I would find myself on my iPhone or something, like looking on eBay for video games. So even though I wasn't playing them during the week, I was still distracted by them. All I've got to do is stop myself looking at buying new games. How can I do that? That's the key. See, the thing is, you've got everything you need. You've got PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus. You've got a mountain of games already. So you don't need any new games. So why do I feel like I need new games? I'm stuck on this one. It's quite horrible. It is quite horrible. Because what's horrible is I know there's a place where the balance exists. It's just I'm worrying whether I can get there or not. I hope so. I just hope I can get there before the PS5 comes out. Interesting. So this is one of the good things, is it is an experiment, and like I said, as long as I still do my drawing, which I've been doing, as long as I still do my studying next week, which we will see, and I'm confident I will, I don't mind if this experiment takes me to some crazy places, because again, you can't fail, because like I said, at the end you're going to make a decision, and maybe this little journey is all about getting to a point where you can completely cut them out of your life, and you've just got to go through this together. So we will see. But I will say I love video games. They are so fun. Especially that PlayStation VR. It's unbelievable. My sister was around yesterday and she was playing it. It's like you're inside of a world. And I don't know, I just find it fascinating. It excites me where we're going to be in, like, I would say maybe 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years, we won't have to wear these massive headsets. I'd imagine we're just wearing little glasses. So it'd be a lot more comfortable, and it's going to be so much more realistic. It is exciting. It is exciting to see where the future of gaming is going to go. Very exciting. Hopefully I can be along for the ride as well. But basically that is it. What I'm going to do, I think, this week's about the Tings episode, which will be the end of the month, I'm thinking I might make it be about my favourite video game characters, because that is something I love. Yeah. I'm thinking about characters now. This is why I love video games, because you get to meet some beautiful characters, and you get to explore like amazing locations. So yeah, I do love my little video games. Just you got to get on top of the addictions, really. That's basically it for this week's episode. I was going to say something as well. Yeah, I might leave that. I was going to talk about some lucid dreams. I had a couple lucid dreams recently. My recent goal for lucid dreaming is I said, before I go to bed, I keep repeating, tonight in my dreams, I want to face what do I say? I say, dream, show me my biggest fear. I repeat, dream, show me my biggest fear. Show me my biggest fear. So I'm trying to face my fear in my dreams. I've had 2 lucid dreams the last 2 days, and I've been able to say in the dream, show me my biggest fear. Fascinating that. The first one, I saw myself in the mirror, like rotting and decaying. It was quite gruesome. And what's amazing is I was able to look at it, and even though it was quite scary, I just carried on looking at it, and it went away. So that was quite exciting. But the next one, I said, oh, that was cool as well. Last night I said, show me my biggest fear. I mean, that's quite weird because the dreams have been acting a bit weird, but what happened was I fell into this pit of darkness, and I was like falling backwards. I could feel myself falling backwards, but at the same time I was looking down on myself falling backwards. Suddenly there was loads of me, hundreds of me's, all falling backwards into this darkness, like pure darkness. Yeah, that's quite weird. So I can't wait to see where these dreams go, but it's quite scary because you're going into it. Yeah, like one of my fear things is Freddy Krueger. As a child, I was terrified of Freddy Krueger. And what I've done is I've actually bought a DVD of Freddy Krueger, because I haven't done it yet. I'm going to watch it in the hope that I can somehow manifest Freddy Krueger in a lucid dream, which that is terrifying. But I just think if I can start facing scary things like that in a dream, because the thing is, in lucid dreams, some of them, they're more real than real. So it's like, that's going into this VR, lucid dreams are like super hyper realistic virtual realities. So if you're in a lucid dream and it feels as real, and you got Freddy Krueger there, that's going to be quite scary. But I kind of want to do it just to see what happens. Again, I've always used lucid dreams as like an experiment. So that's basically it. And this week's inspirational quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. You can find show notes and everything at sophielawson.com, and you can find the videos at youtube.com/sophielawson. But this week's inspirational quote is, all life is an experiment. Hang on a minute. Don't think Dennis ended the podcast. All life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. I love that. like all life is experiment. I've started to realise that, and like lucid dreaming is key to that. In lucid dreaming, you can experiment things, like you can experiment facing fears and stuff. No better way to face your fears, I think, because you sort of know you're dreaming, so you know it's not real, yet it feels so real you can't believe it's not real. It's quite weird. So when you get scared in a lucid dream, you do get as scared as you can ever get, but you're always aware that you're not actually. You're always aware that you're dreaming. So it's quite weird. It's exciting though. So all life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. Ralph Waldo Emerson.